Alfred Webre. Alfred, introduce the
Oh,
show
okay.
and NewsEvolution.
Well, this is NewsEvolution for August 21st, 2022, and that's with Laura Eisenhower, Patty Greer, and Alfred Lambremont Webre. And we are just cruising along. We are bringing you what's in your face and what's coming down the pike. So over to you guys.
Patty, you want to start?
Well, Laura and I were conferring before we started, and I said, I'm just a news hound. I can't stop. And because my sleep habits have been 4-hour chunks, and then I'm awake and I have to go back to sleep tea or have a piece of bland fruit or something, I'm finding that I'm honoring it now, because in the olden days, they used to do 4-hour chunks. They'd get up and do the work on the farm, and then they'd get to go back to sleep. And I think that we have this innate nature that maybe is coming back, and we're seeing it through the changes that we're going through. And somehow I'm feeling like all that's been taken away on some level might be a good thing. Are you finding that, Laura?
In a lot of ways, absolutely. We have to sort of be pushed to the edge in order to reclaim the fullness of all that we are, our treasures. I mean, challenge is our friend. Adversity is our friend. Thinking something is impossible is our friend, because it pushes us to access our creative imagination and dig more deeply into the fullness of all that we are on a DNA level, on a human potential level. And if one is caught up in the social engineering, indoctrination kind of stuff, they're not going to reach those states of consciousness. But it doesn't mean they're not going to eventually get there. People manifest their own breakthroughs and life events that'll help them to get there when the time is right. We're not all moving at the same speed. And we are also maybe going to face the times where we're doing really, really, really well, and we're moving like way beyond. And I talk a lot about activating our galactic chakras that create the infinity spiral, and where psychic attack really increases when we begin to move through those levels and bust down or dissolve those frequency fences or seals in our DNA that this window to me is all about. So the things that are needing to go are things we have to determine within ourselves, for sure. And when we see it on the larger picture level, we don't want things to go back to the old normal. And I know people talk about this. I think we've mentioned this between the three of us, or when I heard somebody say it, I'm like, yeah, totally. Because the new normal is an illusion. It's based in psyops and distortions and things that we have to be able to see through. But the old was just hiding this stuff. And it was still using and utilizing the same sort of weaponry, but through a different disguise. It's like master of disguises. Now it's like over here through this particular guise, in order to target the population that has good intention for these particular causes and movements that kind of miss the mark because of this whole weaponization of humanity. So I'll kind of leave it at that. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think that a lot of letting go has been done. A lot of people are losing friends and family that are dying suddenly for reasons that, gosh, I don't know. What a coincidence. They're calling it adult death syndrome. Give me a break. We've also got teen death syndrome. We've got all these death syndromes. Wow, what a coincidence. But if we really had realistic numbers, it would be shocking. When I talk to people that have public businesses, they're like, oh my God, there's people going left and right. And I'm not thinking about that. But I am starting to realize that families have had a lot more time to be together through this taking away of all this excess. You know, we used to go shopping and shopping and shopping and consuming and all this stuff. And now they made it so icky to go out. I feel sorry for the businesses because yikes, rent hasn't gone down. Nothing has gone down for them. And I have very close friends that have a restaurant. Expenses are 40% more in people, and people hardly want to work anymore. Food is up 40% for restaurants. Now they're buying wholesale, they're buying quantity. This is now. And so for me, when I look at the news and I see the extreme variety of what appears to be my reality, which is that gas was $5.68. That's my reality last month. And all of a sudden it's like $4.50. And I'm thinking, wow, all it takes is, hold on. Oh, look at that.
Yeah.
So we're in this interesting, like you said, Laura, illusion. But I'm watching so many people have to let go of friends and family because of the judgment of the thing in the arm. And some people are really passionate, and then they just lost 3 family members and they don't put the pieces together.
Uh-oh.
And I don't want to insult anyone. I can't even say that somebody very close to me has Bell's palsy on her face now. Devastating to me, because this is a beautiful woman, a very good friend. And all of a sudden, I know why. I know she recently put herself in the experiment because somebody she loves is. And I'm watching this everywhere, but I don't listen to a lot of people's stories because I have to be mindful of, we only have so much energy now. But when I think of letting go of friends, family, and their judgments, I feel like resonance and frequency are more important than ever. If we want to be drained, we're going to keep hanging on to those old relationships that make absolutely no benefit to our life. And the wonderful thing about being older, Laura, you're still a little younger than me and Alfred, but we represent different decades, and we're very conscious for our decade. And I'm sure, Laura, with all the people you've known and deal with in business, like Alfred, like me, we've let go of relationships because we've got the consciousness to know we're just going to keep doing this because we don't resonate anymore.
Oh, totally. Totally. And that's everything right there. Resonance and resonance is a lot of the times brought about through synchronicities and just this greater divine flow that exists in these higher dimensions that we can anchor and ground. And it takes us beyond sort of the matrix stuff, which is really pushing that divide and conquer. So if people are going to fall for that and act in those kind of ways, boundaries are everything, because if there is a bifurcation, if that frequency cannot occupy the same timeline, then that letting go is important. Doesn't mean that there's not unconditional love or universal love or some kind of bridging that's happening between whatever kind of split. But I'm noticing, yeah, certain friends and family falling away, but the ones, even if our decisions are different, that still remain, it's like that love frequency to me is so much stronger than the choices of what one put into their bodies. And if one can stay out of the social engineering and the mind control, I feel like the weapons and the bioweapons or whatever's in the body is able to be neutralized and alchemized, because one is not falling into that judgment or battle. Because people like us, we know we need a boundary. And what can we possibly say after the fact? We don't want anybody to feel scared or I told you so. We don't have that kind of mentality. But I've noticed some people who made that choice who aren't in judgment of me for my choices that are family members and maybe a friend or two here and there, that I'm really surprised because they still sound really good. It's not like they're thrown down into what I think is the bigger weapon and the bigger deal that they're looking for. And that's why there's all the propaganda, the psyops and the false narratives and everything being steered in the fake media, that they really require the minds to then have the weapons actually work within the bodies in order to really begin to change the DNA, because it's another form of like reversal epigenetics, where the thought forms are in such a low vibration and frequency that it does inform the DNA to modify into not a divine embodiment potential that we all have in this ascension window. When we can overcome that, no matter what I think we've put in our bodies or what we've breathed in or what we might have been exposed to in our pasts, that once we move like beyond that with each other, we can help de-weaponize the weapons. But like you said, what we have to let go of is that we can't occupy the same spaces with energy vampires and people that are going to be throwing their energy around like that. So yeah, those are my thoughts.
Amazing.
Wow. Beautiful.
Alfred's waiting. He's got a wonderful new book, like 4 this year so far. Isn't enough for a guy who just turned 80. He's got number 5 coming. So he's sitting, waiting for us to build the nest, and then he's going to take it away. So I feel like, what I'm finding is that I can't stop watching news. I was talking about the 4-hour chunks of sleep. I finally stopped fighting it and thinking, oh God, what's wrong with me? Because believe me, I'm asking, my brain, come on, go to sleep, go to sleep. And So I've got my methods, my hot water bottle and my go to sleep tea, and once in a while if I needed melatonin. But come on, the brain is just such a beautiful place. And so now I'm honoring it in the middle of the night. And when I toss and turn, I'll give it about an hour and then I'm like, okay, party. And I get up and I have my little massage chair party and I turn on the news again at 1 to 3 in the morning, or 1 to 2 until, God forbid, the tea kicks in. And so it's such a wonderful thing to, instead of go, oh God, what's wrong with me, to be able to say, oh, what's right with this time. And now I actually, when I get up, I feel excited because I trust that this is the greatest psyop in human history. I think that we have been in this long, drawn out plan. I mean, the Simpsons talked about it in their cartoons, and the X-Files talked about the thing that we're dealing with, and the MR, they talked about it. How many years ago? Wait, who wrote the script? And how the hell is that going on?
The Art of War, 1984, just
right?
so keep going, right?
The very first hack on my website in 2013, trying to get me to be scared. And I should have been, I should have been smarter. I would have been walking better at this age. But whoever it was, gosh, I can't imagine, hacked my website on social media. And it was my website, period, on my website. And across my entire website, there was no longer all the stuff that I'd put there. And it said, George Orwell, telling the truth in times of universal deceit is a revolutionary act. And then they reversed the something, so that it looked like a quirk, but they whacked out my website, hit my, doesn't matter. I don't want to talk about the past, but it's such an interesting thing to see that come forward now, that all those things that we've known, or that we were told, or that they set us up with on TV, we're now living it.
No.
So I'm trying to find the good things in it because I love smiling. And here I have beautiful musician friends that used to be, always out doing all these things and working and going and driving. And now in the last few years, they had to learn to bring the studio home, work at home, and be there with the kids and be there with the family and create your home to be a more exciting place to be. And the creativity that I've seen people come up with that have stayed well and healthy has been astounding in the last year. It's like the acceptance of less clutter, less overabundance of stuff and things, because we don't want to be importing from that thing across the sea that, ships in all the crap. So what we want to do is minimize, and we've been shown that we have to. And they're talking about all these shortages, but perhaps it's going to get us again. We don't want shortages. We want choice. But
right.
Yeah, but I think that there's good things to come of all of it. Like somehow everything needed a good slap, other than the politicians that need to be completely overhauled. All the agencies need to be completely overhauled. They've just stepped into the traps. The news that I'm watching, the Mar-a-Lago thing was priceless. And again, there's people on one side or the other. I don't want to pick sides, but the blatant abuse of power is what I'm concerned about, that we're seeing across the country. And what I'm seeing in my own little town of Boulder, Colorado, I watch the news and it just astounds me that they're getting away with this stuff. So I spoke with somebody that knows local politics really well yesterday, and he said, oh God, my daughter at school came home so upset because she said, Daddy, I like boys. And he said, well, okay. And she said, well, no, I'm not like all the other kids at school, because they're all being trained to be confused completely about what they want, who they are, what they're going to be.
That's major.
And it's happening right here in Colorado.
It's bad everywhere in a lot of ways, but it's probably more extreme there. Yeah, California. I definitely have some thoughts to share when you're done. I don't want to interrupt, but keep going.
I'm done. Take it.
Oh no, it's so true. Yeah, I've been watching news myself, and I have my weird rhythm, and I have to stop and just embrace just the inconsistency of it. Like, maybe this is not a good time to be on the astral right now. and if I'm awake, this is probably, a really perfect time to just be in my own space. And when something comes up and it looks like, wow, this looks important to watch, I'll watch it. And I definitely have been following some of the Mar-a-Lago stuff and a lot of the different theories coming from, like you said, both sides. But then it was really profound to hear it coming from somebody who has survived, like the SBRA stuff. Just putting a little, I know it's really annoying with the algorithm. I don't know. I just want to be careful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So coming from the mouth of somebody I'm not even very familiar with, because I've worked really closely with a lot of people that have survived the MK Ultra stuff and the SRA stuff. And this particular woman was interviewed by Zublik on Dark Outpost on BitChute. And it's very graphic. There's a major warning attached to it before anybody watches it if you're not used to this kind of information. And she went into great depth about what she's witnessed, what she's gone through. She was naming names like nobody's business. And the detail of what she expressed and the sincerity and the strength, I mean, it's very much like some of the others that have come out. But she has filed all sorts of things, affidavits that are legally sound. They're not just things that she wrote up, that she believes the raid was trying to get their hands on, and they're trying to cover it up. She, I don't think, is 100% sure about it, but the conversation went so deep, and it was talking about what she has been able to put together with the help of those that are benevolent. I'm sure they're white hats, and those within the positive aspects of government military that are helping her. And that was so encouraging. So I just want to encourage people to go to BitChute, check out Dark Outpost. It was really mind-blowing, but there's so much of it that is so graphic and so horrific beyond anything at least I've ever heard. And I've heard a lot, but that was, really huge. And all these levels of deep state families and bloodlines, it's unbelievable how they place them in society, because you're going to have it really occurring right under your nose. Churches, universities, hospitals, and they have a way of picking where people belong based on probably their knowledge of the occult or astrology charts, or just whatever they work with. And there's a huge portion of them that do not make it because of what they put them through. And then there's some that they place, in strategic places in the entertainment industry, in the political realm. And to hear it from her, even though so many have brought it forth in such brilliant ways, it just was, there was new stuff there that I hadn't heard before. And so when you were talking about just what kids are going through, this indoctrination, I mean, they're strategically pacing people in the superintendent school system, teachers, principals.
Yes.
The Hampton cover-up in England, the kids were saying, oh yeah, my headmistress was there, they participated in the ritual, my teachers were there, so the cops were there. I mean, people in your local community. Sometimes I think people think it's, whoa, it's all the way over there, it's the deep state, and you can just cancel all that stuff with watching movies or having any kind of affiliation with it or understanding it. But when we realize it's like right under our noses in our communities, this is when we really have to pull our resources together and come together and understand there's a lot of blackmail and a lot of trauma and a lot of abuses that have caused these individuals to be the way they are. And if survivors can come forward, like Kathy O'Brien and this woman and Laura Worley and a bunch of others, and shine light on this, coming from so much love and light, that's a good place to start to maybe help pull a lot of those souls out of being in that web, that system, that I don't even know what to call it. So I'm going to kind of leave it at that. That's the news I've been seeing lately. It's so important. Like, I really love what you're saying about, we're being, a lot of people, see, I'm not, this wasn't a hard one for me, but maybe just enjoying going out, getting a meal. Now that's easy where we're living, but the materialism is off the charts. I don't see those in Hollywood really changing much, or the people that are really loaded, but there's no judgment on that. It's like, but what are you going to do with that power? Are you going to, use that power correctly. Well, there's so much blackmail, and the minute you begin to call this stuff out when you've already accepted being a part of this kind of system, deep state related, they're going to off you, right? So I know that people's hands are tied because of that in many ways. So anyway, we don't have to participate in that on a ground level. Yeah, people losing businesses, people not necessarily having the funds that they had before and the lifestyles they had before. But yes, there is a huge blessing to it, because a lot about this ascension window has to do with connecting with Mother Earth, living close to the Earth. It's not like we're going back to Little House on the Prairie either. We're working Stargate energy with the planetary grid networks. We're advancing ourselves. We are switching on dormant DNA and galactic chakras. And when we work with the Earth and we begin to recognize ourselves shifting into more advanced embodiment, we're doing it simultaneously with the planet, with the Mother Earth, who's a starship, mother ship type deal that has a body whose stargates connect to the other star systems and dimensions. Her galactic core and how that connects with the core sun and the diamond heart within the planetary body is the merging of the Andromeda galaxy and the Milky Way, to the point where it opens up the 15-dimensional time matrix and heals not just the planetary grid network, but the stargates that we are a replica of as far as our DNA and what we've got going on. So we're all doing a tremendous amount of work when we can steer our human vessels as the skipper of our own ship and do whatever work is necessary when we feel a block, when we feel our energy drop, when we go down into those lower vibrations, like the Hawkins scale, like those lower frequencies. We can give it unconditional love. We can focus on what needs to be cleared, what we need to embrace letting go of, like you were talking about, whatever we've held on to, whatever belief systems, whatever friends we thought were real friends. If we can like consciously like do that, that is to me what it takes to begin to become the fullness of all that we are, like I mentioned in the beginning. And so all those points that you made, I totally agree with, because that is what it takes. And as far as how that translates to the darkness that's happening under our feet and in our communities, that acts like a greater tower than the 5G towers, because we are the ultimate and most advanced technology. So what we generate through the heart and what we radiate out into the communities and how that impacts the planetary grid network is such a higher frequency than the 5G, because we're 5D and beyond. So, and I feel that that shines a light in these dark areas because we're conscious and aware of it, that it can't get away with it anymore, because we know it's there, that is a part of purging it and bringing it to the light, while also taking people very seriously who have these stories to tell. But again, be very careful with some of the information. It can be very triggering and very difficult and painful to listen to. So, but I just suggest it because people might not have heard of this woman. I named the name of the show. I'll keep her name kind of quiet because you'll see it anyway. And it's talking about, the title of it is pretty rough, but it's well worth the watch, because you'll know that this woman is not full of it. And her first name is Jess. So I'll leave it at that. She does have a YouTube channel, but I think she keeps it pretty low key.
What's the title of the show?
Well, about how our leaders do horrible things to children with some graphic terms, right? So sometimes when you see a video like that, it's like, oh my God, is this going to the extreme? You know how sometimes there's a lot of psyops within disclosure kind of community where it's like, it's just almost like it makes the disclosure and conspiracy stuff look almost ridiculous. That title might hit a person in that way, but it's well worth the watch, because it's the mind-boggling stuff that is really going on, not like getting caught up in like the flat earth or trying to make predictions about something that a person might not really know about. Like one of my best friends, 10 of her family members got gunned down in the Texan church, right? And I'm helping her process still to this day. I mean, she's absolutely traumatized. 10 family members were gunned down. She's a really good friend of mine. You guys might even know her. And in the most brutal way, she gave me a lot of details too. I just talked to her like 2 days ago. All her friends couldn't handle it. She feels very alone. I don't want to, I hope I'm not saying too much. But anyway, but some people made videos saying, oh, they're all crisis actors. Those people didn't really die. People jumped the gun way too quick. And unless we're there, unless we really, really know, we have to be very, very careful, because there's a lot of great researchers, or maybe even plants within this, for lack of a better term, disclosure community, who create sort of their version of what they think happened without really knowing enough. And of course, there are those scenarios where there are crisis actors. Like, it's not like that doesn't exist, and false flags are rampant. But there's a lot of the MK Ultra sort of assassin programming that are taking real lives that we have to be careful with, because the family members that see these videos of people that lost their lives, where it's like, oh yeah, they're all actors and this didn't really happen. You know, it sometimes can put a dent in this particular, I guess you call it community, being taken seriously. But that is why there's a lot of disinformation and multi-layers of disinformation within this community as well. And I love having mature conversations with folks like you, because you're not afraid to, and me neither, adjust my perspective and not have fixed beliefs, but be a part of this greater conversation so we can get to the bottom of things, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. For me, I see the entire sphere of all this drama, all these stories, all these terrible massacres. I lost 2 friends in the Boulder, Colorado, sick man that went into a grocery store and gunned down 10 people. 2 of them were friends of mine.
Oh my God.
So, yeah, and it wasn't, they really died.
Yeah.
So my focus though, if we simplify, and I'm looking at a few years down the road, and we look back on this huge chapter we've been through, I think the bottom line is and don't get mad at me or think that I'm some lover of some party or a man or another or a hater. What I am is a realist. I look at what's physically happening, and I don't listen to prophets. I'm sorry to say, many of them are marvelous. I'm a documentarian. I just am. And so I want facts, I want evidence. And that's why I love news. And you can just smell it when they're full of BS and opinion and, you know, woo-woo. I want facts, I want evidence. So
I know.
what I
Oh,
really
I got one more
think,
thing to say before Alfred goes. Keep going though. You just reminded me of something, but
what I think is that this whole entire sphere of horrificness has come out because when President Trump was officially elected, he and his wife Melania, on the very first day or week, I'm not sure because it's been some years, they officially announced that they were going to take care of and focus on removing traffic beep beep-ing. They announced that they were the enemy of all demons that were doing bad things to littles. Certainly, I think that I can't even fathom when people learn about the depth of the horrificness, and it's wounded my life and my heart and yours and Alfred's, I'm sure, knowing that they're actually removing blood, like, oh God, the things that could be happening. So for me, facts. I saw it the other day, and then they did it on FOX News. They actually said it's true that all these planes that have been flown around by our government at night that we don't know about. I've been wondering, what's in these planes? Are they flying in? I don't know. So it was announced that they've been moving 10,000 children. The administration
got into a lot of that kind of thing. Yeah, I mean, it was mind-blowing, this interview, but again, it comes with a major warning for people not. Yeah. So what else about that?
Well,
Gosh.
I think that that's the whole reason that he's been targeted and attacked since the first day of office, because he went straight up, he held up the mirror to anybody that hurts littles, and he said, I'm coming after you. And I think that's what's caused him all these years of being the target of every demon. I'm sorry, politician,
Yeah,
or company owner, or, I mean, there's been all kinds of people that are guilty of this problem that have been really full of money and after him. And I think that that's what the American public has had to deal with. The fact of how bad it's gotten in America, that they could have literally passed this recent bill with Mr. Schumer patting the pansy on the back who looked up like this, like not even anybody home. And he signed this thing, taking my tax dollars, massive amounts, and giving them, the list is unbelievable where these billions are going. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's so beyond wrong.
It is.
And the man is completely, and I don't mean, I feel bad for old people that can't help themselves. He can't help himself, and nobody's home in the eyes. Nobody's home in the expression. And so who's running this puppet? And Schumer's there pushing him on the back to sign this thing, and then patting him and yelling, woohoo, what are you, 80 something, yelling, woohoo. And it's great. They've waited a long time to try and get away with something this big. These are my tax dollars.
Yeah.
So there's this part of me going, so wait, Pelosi's just got PPP, like how many millions or billions did they just give the Pelosi's? Like Mr. P, did he have a person, a small person in the car? Is it true? I saw news repeatedly that her husband had a small person in the car when he crashed his Porsche. I mean, why is everything being hidden that's so important? And I think the whole thing stems to what you and I are not saying, the ST problem. And the man that's really tried to change America has been more hated than anyone. And because they've owned the news, they've taught a lot of old people and people that don't know much about history or present history that were in a war, have gone, oh, wow, I'm going to hate that man too, and call him names and teach my children to hate. And, oh yeah, wait, we hate kids. We got to go to drag story time at the library. Wait.
No, it's just so twisted. Well, the personality matrix is really the 3D because it's the lower chakras. It's targeting the lower chakras. It doesn't want us to move beyond that. The bridging areas might be 4th and 5th, right? But we have to really bring in universal love and like things that just will help shift all that. And they're just making it worse. They're making it worse. And it's surprising that people aren't feeling into the ascension signals within themselves, their own soul calling to them to reach a greater level of like heart and compassion and being able to see through the facades and the games being played through the media and the lies being streamed through to create things like hatred and to create things like gender confusion. It's mind blowing. But what I really appreciated that I saw in the news was Alex Jones was calling the T guy out and just being like, you know, you've done amazing. This is the stuff that you have done. But until you stop supporting the you know what, and talk about the dangers and that you were lied to and that you might have made a mistake, I can't really support you. And I've been one of your biggest supporters. And he said it with the greatest respect. So this isn't like, because I'm not right or left, and I see just the importance of this person's position, the T guy. But I do agree. But at the same time, like DeSantis has been very interesting in the way he's approached it, what he's been able to share. He's still got a political position, right? Trump has been knocked out of that political position. So there's one of two things. Wouldn't that give you the ability to just say it like it is? Because what do you have to lose? Because they're trying to take you down anyway. Or I can't quite give the full picture until I'm put in a position where I can keep some of these enemies at bay that will maybe do something horrible to me if I don't meet them halfway, because he's not like supporting the mandates. As far as I'm concerned, he was really talking about the therapeutics, and he made that very clear in his administration. So I understand what Alex was saying. At the same time, I can only imagine where he's at. And I think most people that understood where he was coming from know that there's a little bit more behind all of that, that probably isn't a part of this horrific thing that we're dealing with. But I just found that interesting. I really was blown away by what DeSantis shared in the rally. Like, he's one of, I hope he runs. And I'm not into government. I'm not into, I think the whole system needs to go. I'm really into just, yeah, none of that. But I feel like we have to kind of uncoil a bit first with really strong and powerful people. And if people could get over the right and left and divide and conquer stuff and really just look at what's happening and mature yourself to the point where you can get out of the hatred, the judgments, the confusion about your gender, and just love yourself enough to be true to you, you know. And it's up to the parents to not allow their kids to be exposed to this. It's like the worst of peer pressure, because it's not just coming from the friends, it's coming from the system, it's coming from the books. The critical race theory stuff is being so pushed. All the crap of like, all the guilt. And I mean, my heart breaks for these children. So I just wanted to say that, because I do acknowledge that, you know, I'm the kind of person that I'll say it like it is. I really, and you guys do too. Even if my life was threatened, which it has been for all of us, a lot of us, I'm still going to say, this is not a good thing. If it's not a good thing after the fact, I'm not going to say it to the person, because I know that anything can be healed and corrected. Just, we got to get out of the social engineering, mind control part of it, and the belief system in people like the F guy, ouchie, and not be looking up to those that are looking to screw us over, people that didn't quite read about Project Paperclip and have read the distorted history that's in our history books. But I just had to add that as far as the news that I've seen lately. And I not a big InfoWars person. I appreciate so many colleagues and people in this field, but I just don't follow a lot of people. But when I saw that, I was just like, right on. That was really bold.
And we
And
need that.
what's that?
We absolutely need that. We need Mr. T to stand up for humans because too many people are dropping. It's blatant. It's obvious. It's in everybody's lives. I want to bring up one last news fact that's hot.
And now we're
on my
handing it to you,
ticket.
Alfred. Okay, go ahead.
Yes. And then over to Alfred, Prince Alfred, who's been so patient watching the girls go, I'm pissed. Okay, here's a great
Yeah, I
one.
feel so sorry for my husband because we do process a lot through like, rah. Anyway,
Yeah.
I don't know where I was going with
So
that.
here's another amazing thing for Florida, because they've got really good leaders in Florida, a lot of them. The sheriff of Polk County, they announced that they've arrested 85 kingpins bringing fentanyl across the border. And they've actually been phone tapping for quite a while now. And so now they're finally, they've indicted or arrested 85, but they've got a huge pile. So this huge drug problem, they've actually gotten to the bottom. And I've followed that, which got really deep and interesting. People should look into it. But all of these commercial flights that you and I are on going to LAX and in and out have been flying suitcases, many of them full of methamphetamines and phenylene. And so they've got people in baggage claim, people in all these different areas of the airlines and the airlines that are allowing huge amounts, have been, but now they have announced it and gone after these guys. But the fact that they've been watching everything is a reminder that Hillary too, when they say we've got it all, and when the CIA and the FBI and the DEA and all these organizations say we're tapping everything, the good thing is they've tapped Bill and Hillary too. The good thing is they've tapped the Pelosi's too.
Oh, you
Not
guys, I'm going to be
because-
moving this to BitChute, by the way. So I'll put the link in. Keep going though, because I know I've said a lot and we got to be careful because this is my last good channel. But keep going. Yes, yes.
Well,
Don't go
that's
back.
just, I just feel like everything's coming to the surface to be healed. And this has just been so freaking entertaining that, like I said, all of a sudden in the middle of the night, I'm like, oh, good, what happened? Because I keep waiting for waking up and all of a sudden the storm just blows. And I don't mean any hero. I just mean a huge army of real men that are proud of what they've got between their legs and know how to use a weapon. I love the thought of that many masculine and fabulous women that care about our country, that are proud enough to wear a flag. It doesn't mean I voted for anyone. It means I'm really glad to be here. Wow, America, cool. So that's what I have to say. I just think that when I speak to people that know nothing, there's a part of me going, wow, ignorance is bliss, but not now. We need everybody to get the frick up and do something to make a
life or death.
difference.
Absolutely. It's life or death. Ignorance is now life or death. Not
Go,
bliss.
Alfred. What's up with you, doll?
So I know you're going to do a share screen.
Yeah, okay. Well, actually, I'd like
Yeah,
to,
thoughts on what we just talked about. Yeah. If you
yeah,
could.
this feeds into what I'm talking about. And I think that what we all share is a love of the American experiment. And we don't want it to end. And so my book, what I'm sharing with you is how I was told that the United States is going to be, as we know it, is going to be broken apart. And what we can do for that not to happen. Okay.
Interesting.
So and this is coming right in the middle of things. And so this is neither fear nor favor. It's a report. And it's what's happening for the time being that we can see. So what I'd like to do is to share screen here and give you a preview of, can you see that
Yep.
particular title?
Time screen.
It's called Time Screen, the 100-year secret chronogarchy plot to break apart America using time travel, Trump, and treason.
Wow.
It's in 3 easy blocks. And I'll just share with you the current book description. It's on Amazon. Parts of it, Laura, there's a chapter in there, there's a passage in there that Laura and I did some stuff together that maybe we'll talk about it at the end of this that bears on this. Time Screen, the 100-year chronogarchy plot to break up America using time travel, Trump, and treason. And this is based on empirical research. A lot of research of many different agencies, committees, etc., have gone into this. In this new book, Time Screen, you can buy it now on pre-order. It's going to be published on July 4th, 2023. I thought that was a significant date to publish it.
Yeah.
But you can buy it now on pre-order.
Wait, say that date again?
You can buy it now, and it's on pre-order. It'll be published on July 4th, 2023.
Nice.
Futurist Alfred Lambremont Webre exposes an historic and legendary 100-year unlawful, secret, and deceptive chronogarchy plot to break up the constitutional union of states in America and disassemble the Constitution of the United States through quantum access time travel driven covert social engineering through the political and social persona of Donald J. Trump as a willing actor in violation of Article 3, subsection 3 of the US Constitution prohibiting treason, quote, levying war against the United States, end of quote. With evidence characterizing Ingersoll Lockwood, an 1890s member of the New York Bar, and quote, an American political writer, lawyer, and novelist, as quote, an embedded local handler of time travel operations for the chronogarchy. The new book, Time Screen, demonstrates how the chronogarchy, through Ingersoll Lockwood's 2 books, quote, Baron Trump's Marvelous Underground Journey and 1900, or The Last President, intentionally implanted and published key memes, tropes, and time travel plot deflectors related to Donald J. Trump's central historical role as a covert Russian agent of influence in a, quote, 100-year plot to break up America through time travel, Trump, and treason. Alfred recounts his 1971 meeting with the top secret DARPA CIA time travel unit in 1971, after DARPA CIA time traveled his landmark book, Exopolitics, back from 2005 back to 1971, using classified quantum access technologies. Continuing the disclosure narrative, Alfred reveals a stunning January 1977 staff meeting with Stanford Research Institute futurist director Willis Harman, who at the time had a 50-year alternative future study with the US Central Intelligence Agency, which had just time traveled Alfred's book back from 2005, back to 1971. Willis Harman took Alfred, who had just joined the SRI futurist staff, aside and told him of the future balkanization or breaking up of the USA. Quote, Alfred, in the future, the United States of America will break up into many regions. End of quote. US Presidents George H.W. Bush, George W. Bush, Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, Donald J. Trump, and Joseph Robinette Biden would be pre-identified, all of them, in 1971 and groomed by the CIA on a common consensual policy by the DARPA CIA Chronogarchy secret presidential time travel pre-identification program. Time Screen documents a 40-year penetration of Russian intelligence, and this is based on a wide variety of documents, including interviews with KGB agents, with CIA agents, with NSA agents, the whole thing, into, quote, the real Donald Trump becoming a deep cover Soviet asset, and Trump Tower becoming a known base of operations for the Russian mafia. They're the ones who made Donald Trump a billionaire. With Russian intelligence asset, Donald Trump's winning of the US presidency in November 2016, as pre-identified by DARPA CIA time travel, a covert Russian spy became US president, accounting for the determination of FBI, CIA to remove and block Trump through first the quote Russian dossier, then 2 impeachments, a managed 2020 presidential election loss, the congressional January 6, 2021 Select Committee, the 8/8/2022 Lionsgate FBI search and seizure of Trump's headquarters at Mar-a-Lago on espionage grounds. The new book focuses on structural signs of a possible chronogarchy time travel manufactured breaking up of the United States of America, including the 2022 adoption by the Texas State Republican Party of a plank calling for the secession of Texas from the United States, and a recent poll showing that a plurality of Trump voters in Trump-leaning states favor secession from the United States of America. Quote, about 33% of Trump voters in so-called red states say they'd fare better if their state, quote, became an independent country. With a publication date of July 4th, 2023, Alfred's new book presents solutions for the body politic of the United States of America so that the positive American experiment does not fall victim to covert time travel predicted projections of the chronogarchy. And that's the description of the book on Amazon, for which I was limited to 4,000 characters. So I had to put it all in there.
Wow.
But the amount of material and research and the documentation that is in there is staggering. And it's as though 60 to 90 million Americans are looking at Trump exactly upside down. They see him as a patriot, whereas he's carrying out Putin and the KGB's playbook to disassemble America. And the final thing I'd like to add is that, and this will appear in the final version of the book, that when Trump was president, we did a number of articles and interviews, including with colleagues and friends of Patty's and Laura's, on how the whole world pedocriminal cycle was really fueled by the secret treaties with the Draco reptilians, because it's basically to meet the requirements of the Draco reptilians for fresh baby meat and for fresh human children, up to 250,000 a year from North America, and of fresh adults up to 1 million a year, that the US military are covertly engaged in. And we have whistleblowers to back that up, that the world pedocriminal infrastructure is fueled and triggered by the secret treaty with the Dracos, starting with the 1932 Balboa Treaty signed by Franklin Delano Roosevelt aboard a US battleship in Balboa, Panama. And then the Greer Treaty, which Dwight Eisenhower signed in 1954, the Tau 9 Treaty, signed by George H.W. Bush, and then various treaties 10 years afterward. And we've been doing programs in this area, and we even have it that if you go to the West Virginia State Police, the insignia that they have on their Smokey the Bear hats is the World Pedophilia insignia, because US law enforcement has been, I'm not saying it's continuous, it has been enforced from the top down, being enforced, and having to meet the demands for human baby and child and children and adults, according to the Draco reptilians. And at the time that Donald J. Trump was president, he was abrogating the Paris Treaty on climate change, saying that he had the power to abrogate it as president. So I said, well, if he can abrogate that, then he has the power to abrogate the secret treaties, including the Franklin Delano 1932 secret treaty with the reptilians, the Greer Treaty from 1954 that Dwight Eisenhower signed, the Tau 9 Treaty, and we got up a...
Wait, Eisenhower, it was done behind Eisenhower's back. He didn't sign anything.
Okay.
Anyway, we can talk
But
about that.
it was done during the Eisenhower administration.
Yes.
So we drew up a proposal, and there was a petition on the internet, which a lot of people signed, and we drew up a proposal and addressed Donald Trump that Laura Eisenhower, great-granddaughter of Dwight D. Eisenhower, would walk into the Oval Office with the documents abrogating all the secret treaties with the Draco reptilians for his signature. And that would end this entire planet as a pedocriminal fate. That would be the beginning of the end of this planet as a pedocriminal haven because the pedocriminality is initially driven by those treaties. There are, we have testimony of whistleblowers that the US bases have to have pallets filled with baby meat ready for the Dracos to come and collect. And these are top secret things. Yeah, you can get into the Phil Schneider testimony and everything. And right at that juncture, for some reason, there was a crash, and Laura and I never got to walk that. Laura did not get to walk that into the Trump White House. But I just wanted to give that kind of a footnote. But this book is a redefinition and a bringing to the fore of the invisible war that the United States has been fighting against Russia under the perestroika deception, with Donald Trump as a major figure, that the Chronogarchy has done this on an unprecedented scale and put even time travel psyops going back to the 1890s, the last president, because his mission as an Article 3 traitor was to bring the US Constitution to an end and to emerge as an autocratic leader. Now, we're still right in the middle of that. This has been a very, very difficult period for me since his public emergence. Donald J. Trump destroyed the environmental, the exopolitical movement. And a lot of people within it became MAGA fanatics. I knew that MAGA was not what it appeared to be. So that this is not an easy book for me to write and an easy campaign for me to wage. I find myself reaching out to allies whose father, as a judge, I convicted George W. Bush and Richard B. Cheney of war crimes. And now I find myself reaching out to Liz Cheney, Richard B. Cheney's daughter, to encourage her to run for president as a truth squad coming in publicly to expose Donald Trump at every campaign stop if he insists on running for president. So,
Alfred, can I ask you a question?
yeah, sure. I'm just
finish first. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I'm just right in the middle of presentation. I'm going to finish shortly, and I'm just kind of showing, the impact that it's having on me. I mean, one Cheney is a defendant war criminal. The other Cheney, I'm reaching out and saying, run against him. So that is, people can go online to Amazon, to Timescreen. It's now ranked very, very high. I think it's ranked like number 200, which is a pretty high rank. So this is a public debate. There are solid, what's amazing to me is that the two of the leading authors who have brought to light Donald Trump's career as a secret Soviet agent. Both of them are African American. One of those authors has written 4 books, and they are at the top of excellence. And I recommend them to everyone. You can get them on Amazon. And this is something that has not come into the public dialogue yet. But in order to keep the United States together and to take the 80 to 90 million people who think that Donald Trump is a patriot and somehow, reconcile them with the body politic, they now want to secede. The Republican Party in Texas has an official plan to secede from the United States. That hasn't happened since the Civil War. I come from a family that fought in the Civil War and was decimated by the Civil War. So with that, I just wanted to say, here is the book. It's kind of a cause in itself, and we'll see where it's going to go. Thank you.
Powerful.
I'll bring it down. Yes.
Wow, Alfred, you're just super bold and awesome. That was really amazing. Yeah, I didn't mean to jump in there. I'm sure you have questions too, Patty. You mind a little Q&A with you right now?
Please,
So when it comes to Liz, my concerns is that she's making it more of a big deal that anybody would oppose the 2020 election being rigged. It's like she's making that such a focus, even though she says in the next breath, I would run because I think I'm the best candidate. And so they can't run if they're going to run with the R Republican, if they're both running as Republicans. So what, people are going to change their party to the point where people realize that the parties don't really matter. It's just,
well, yeah.
But it seemed like there's way too much focus on that there's intel wars and there's wars within these families, even based in, I think, hierarchical principles. It's just, for one, I don't trust fully the T guy. I feel like he's compromised, but I feel like he did a lot. But I really need to understand your position on Liz, because I'm not really feeling it, but I really appreciate that you're bringing this to the table.
Sure.
I don't know what,
Sure.
it's because it's all about, after he went through all the Russian collusion and all this attack about election integrity, that anybody who questions something where dead people are voting and where it's just been a huge mess, that is like become the big issue, and political prisoners since January 6th have been so mistreated. But everybody on the other side, they get a little slap on the wrist and they're able to leave after burning and looting and doing all these horrific things that seem to be okay. I think I'm just a little confused, and I still have a little more to go with that particular rabbit hole, but that's such important information you just brought forth.
I don't vibe with her energy either. And her father was extremely disgraced with the work that he did.
And the Franklin cover-up, he was responsible for the use of those children. Sorry, Patty, go ahead. Yeah.
No, I think that, again, Alfred, you're Canadian, we're American. I do feel very different.
No, I was born
totally
at the U.S. Naval Base in Pensacola, Florida, and I'm an American citizen.
Right.
I am here in exile because it was impossible for me to stay alive inside of the United States because I was so harassed by the secret state. I am here in order to stay alive. Okay. Now, no, but wait. When just so you understand where I'm coming from, when the January 6th, you can go online and look at my initial coverage of the January 6th committee, and I thought that they had, that it was not, and authentic process. And I've watched it. This is what I've done in my full-time job for the last weeks or months. And I'm a judge. I've been a judge on 3 tribunals of conscience. And the bench, the committee, through its fact-finding, has convinced me that by the evidence, Donald Trump, there is evidence that Donald Trump was complicit in an attempt to prevent the peaceful and constitutional transfer of power. And in the course of researching this book and going more deeply into the multiple books and research done by intelligence agents on both sides, Donald Trump did that not as a patriot, but as part of his contract with the KGB, the successor to the Soviet Union, to destroy the United States of America.
What are your thoughts, Patty?
And I present that. I present that the flowing of this evidence going back to 1890 in a way that shows that the Chronogarchy went back and planted evidence starting in 1890 to blow up the American experiment. Well, on my mother's side, she had a very mixed family, but I'm a linear descendant of John Alden of the Plymouth Colony. And guess what? Fuck everybody. They're not going to break up the United States. And fuck Trump. And fuck those Russians, because I know them well. Why? Because in 1987, I did the Instant of Cooperation, which was the first live radio program between the United States and the Soviet Union in history. We had Gostela Radio on their side, and we had NPR on our side, and it was supported openly by Gorbachev on one side and by President Reagan on another, and that was awarded an award on the floor of the United Nations. It was nominated for an award on the United Nations. And that's something that I did with my partner, my radio host partner, Mary Houston. We didn't have to do all that, go in the tank like Donald John Trump did for his millions. So I've been there, I've done that. I know all that territory. And I know how communists operate. Fidel Castro used to come to my grandmother's house for Sunday dinner in Cuba when he was growing up, because he played basketball with one of my uncles at the school that my father was superintendent at, that my uncle was superintendent at. And that was the same Fidel Castro that later his lieutenant put me in jail. And it was Castro's sister that got me out of jail because she faced them down.
So being in Canada with Justin Trudeau, what are your thoughts on all that?
Justin Trudeau is a Luciferic, satanic, blood-drinking, child molester, pedocriminal from the same circles that run Donald Trump and that ran the circles that Trump was in. Trump was total in co-partnership with Epstein and the Epstein Island, and is just, he's completely messed up in that. He is a completely dishonest, double-dealing Gemini. And since I'm a 5-planet Gemini, I know how Geminis are, and I'm calling him the fuck out on all realms.
Good. I totally hear you. Oh my goodness. And I'm only asking questions based on, okay, when all these people gather together, however a person gets their wealth, some of it's trust funds because of their successful parents, some of it is elite family, Illuminati bloodline wealth, right? And that's what's interesting about being the Eisenhower family, because there are no trust funds. So it's like, even though we're a close family, but so people talk about how he kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago. He was not on the flight list. And a lot of the individuals that I've gotten to know that have been through the MK Ultra stuff, the SRA, or have survived or gotten out of the human trafficking, said they didn't see him. He wasn't involved. Doesn't mean he wasn't there on some level. So I don't know, right?
They used to have parties with 28 women at them.
No, and then there's that 13-year-old. Yeah, and then the 13-year-old and a few other people came forward and said that they were abused by him. So
yeah.
Patty, do you want to pipe in here?
Alfred is so passionate. The last thing I want to do is trigger a thing. All I can think of is the minute we're done, I'm grabbing my big ass pendulum and I'm going to be asking a lot of questions of those that seem to.
You can grab the pendulum now. I mean,
So your passion is to be admired on this show.
No, but it's not. It is a passion that is the anger of having the truth movement, watching how many Americans are being duped. They are being duped. I saw it in Cuba where Castro duped everybody.
Do you feel Castro's Justin's father? Sorry.
It could, he could.
Okay, but anyway, keep going. So, but you saw that in Cuba.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not sure I'm in.
Yeah,
I'm not totally on board.
Yeah. No, look, there is no this can't.
And see, we still love each other. We're working it out here.
My question is there
I
hope?
use cards. I use books. I'm discovering this day by day.
Okay. What's the outcome, Alfred? Once we know all this to be true, if we do, what do you see as the outcome? Because you've seen.
No, I told you the outcome.
We're going to all break up the state.
Listen to this very carefully. This is my incarnation mission. I'm exposing the 100-year chronogarchy plot to break up America. The CIA and Willis Harman, the head of futurism at SRI, came to me in January of 1977 and said, Alfred, the US is going to break up into many pieces. After we finish, go on the internet and enter in map USA balkanization. You'll see so many versions of it. You'll see a KGB map of the US with 9 different nations. Okay? We're right in the middle of it. This is the biggest existential challenge to the United States ever, and 60 to 90 million Americans are being blindsided. They think that the traitor is the hero. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what the outcome is. You're asking what the outcome? The outcome is, are you going to work with me to keep the US together? Are you going to work with me to keep the US together? Are people going to agree that the US should be kept together? Are they going to agree that this was a plot created 100 years ago, that Putin and China, man, they got their spy into the Oval Office? This is a triumph such as has never been done before in the history of espionage.
Whoa.
This is an historic triumph that is, and I'm quoting to you from serious quotes that they say this is an historic triumph of espionage. Never in the history of humanity has there been such a thing. That's who Donald Trump is. You're dealing with a psychopath. You're dealing with some people who say he is the Antichrist. Okay, I have a whole blog that shows that Donald Trump is the Antichrist. You can go there and read those things and think about it. Yeah, and really get in on it.
Can I say something? I don't want to interrupt. I just really appreciate all you're bringing. The most important thing I think right now is that we move beyond the right, the left, the internal wars that exist between it, because they're putting themselves against each other in order to send that energetic upon us, so that we're constantly in battle mode, because that's the great programming.
Exactly.
So they can actually make it.
And
they can make it look like
why the United States splits apart.
And
because
they can make him look like the bad guy,
it's
but
red versus blue. You know,
and that's part of the agreement that
to each other, and that's manufactured.
Right, like they are on a news level, and what the public sees, at war with each other, and for all we know, they're just having a drink, laughing because of what it's doing to us. So to me, the integration of polarity is everything right now. It's the right and left brain within us to integrate and not choose sides, and recognize, just like a lot of people say, that it's two sides of the same bird. The only reason I gave the tea guy a little bit of extra credit is, but that's no different than just hearing the woman today that was talking about, this is a serious survivor of SRA, that the EM guy, the Tesla, Elon Musk, whatever, at this point, we're just putting it all out there, was a part of these rituals and grooming. And even though he might look like the hero, wanting to get Twitter and have free speech and create all these different things that look like, doesn't mean that they can't break through the program, even if they were in it. But, and I'm not saying that he's a bad guy. We have to determine, though, how much are people going to run altars and narratives that are part of the divide and conquer. We couldn't be programmed by the divide and conquer if the very system that we're facing right now didn't have a divide and conquer strategy within themselves. That is not actually what is really going on. They're all probably in alliance. So I've always been on the fence. I'm not.
You see, put it this way. And so I thank God, and I give thanks to the Lord that I was an adjunct professor of government at the University of Texas, teaching the Bill of Rights of the U.S. Constitution.
Sweet, yeah.
Okay, that's what's going to get me through, because I can show what we have to do to stay in a constitutional hole.
Right.
It's family dynamics inside of constitutional law.
Well, I think we've given people a lot to think about.
And we're going to have a lot to think about.
And
I'm not attached. I love the spirit of the Patriots, and it's never been about the tea guy for me. But I absolutely, gosh, it's like I see the relevancy of so much. I don't get stuck on something to the point where, I'm going to duke it out. I'm going to be like, yeah, wow, that's amazing to bring forward. And I've got a few other things that were always huge red flags, but yeah, Patty, take it away. And then we'll probably need to close the show, and I can't wait for next time.
well, I think, we've given people a lot to think about. Alfred, I believe me, I'm going to have a little session after this, but I don't ever, want you to be upset to the point where you don't feel well later. You know, I think that a lot of the drama, the trauma is affecting us on so many levels. And I just want to say, I love being your friend. I love being Laura's friend. I think we've been great that we've done this show for years. Once a month, we've done the news evolution as we've gone through the evolution of the news. Alfred appears to, at 80 years old, have known since the 70s what the frick we're going through now. And YouTube probably is not going to invite us to their next party after you yelled and cussed. But hey, sometimes you
I
just gotta
mentioned
tell
all
it
the
like it
three-letter
is.
organizations and everything. So it'll be up for a little while, you guys. And if you can
Yeah, and
subscribe to my Telegram,
I'll
it's in
take
the
my-
description.
yeah.
You will get the replay. So subscribe to my Telegram, you guys. Keep going with the conversation, guys. What's that, Alfred?
No, and I will post it, and I'll send the link around. I'll post my recording.
Well, I'll share it and scare my friends also.
I know. I mean, there's no way the three of us can come together and figure out how to censor
But look,
ourselves.
but look,
We're not. We,
but bottom line, all three of us agreed that we're committed to keeping the United States together. So that's what we agree on.
Amen. And peace. And that if anybody dares to touch a small person, that they don't deserve to be here. That's my very strong belief.
There you
right.
go.
The ones that really want to be in the divide and conquer, that are, it's like, it doesn't mean that everything needs to be split up. It's just about having boundaries, holding unconditional love and understanding from afar, knowing that you don't have to duke it out with us, because it's not about right or left. It's not about politics. It's about protecting children, future generations, those that are being used and abused, and taking to the next level of being guardians and stewards of this planet, carrying the mother, father energies within ourselves, and also nurturing our own inner child and getting beyond this matrix BS and not putting our attention on these leaders outside of ourselves and giving our power away and thinking that anybody's going to save the day. We're going to save the day within ourselves by cutting the cords with anything that is questionable, knowing that within ourselves, our sovereignty, our truth, frequency is going to upgrade us to be the fullness of all that we came here to be. And when we're operating in that dimensional level, the synchronicities and divine flow of creation will help us to rebuild community and pull ourselves out of the vampiric systems that are preying on our children and our hearts and our minds. And for some, it might be the social engineering mind control. For those of us that are awake enough and willing to have these difficult but very incredible conversations, that we can hold trust in what's happening on a larger picture level, and our friends and loved ones are going to be fine, because unconditional love to me is the strongest currency and force of the universe. So I don't know. It's like the hatred part of it or the judgmental part of it. I mean, yes, we're going to get impatient and frustrated, especially, you know, but yeah, I'm working on that one. Not like I don't have that, but at times, yeah, especially with the being abused by it's like I want justice in everything. And I really want to explore the whole tribunal thing that you mentioned last time we were on, Alfred. But yeah, everybody's being affected right now. And if we can take the higher road, not fourth chakra love where there can be imbalance, but just the greater universal love of let's be responsible individuals and adults, not put it as an externalization of who we should vote for and what the system is doing, because the system has failed us in every way, shape, or form. We are the powers that be. They just are the powers that want to be. And they only have power because of what they've stolen from children, from other people's life force, and what they've indoctrinated people into believing. And the minute you cut those cords, you bring that power back to yourself. And that's when we can work together as a humanity, I feel. That's, to me, is unity consciousness.
Can I end with a peace prayer?
Please.
Yes, please.
Anything else, Alfred, before she does that?
No, I think it's wonderful that we're going to
Okay,
have a peace.
go for it, Patty. And she'll close it. So
Stay with us for 4 lines, Laura. You're muted.
well, I'm absolutely right here. I'm just going to highlight you as the closer of the show and put the camera on you. And I'm totally listening. Thanks everybody for tuning in.
So years ago, I was asked to be the Colorado ambassador to plant all these peace poles around Colorado. And if you've ever seen a peace pole, it's a four-sided pole, stands about 6 or 8 feet tall, 8 feet tall, and it's got a little pyramid on the top, and it has words that go down the side. And every time we planted a pole in a different city, and I was asked to pick 7 cities, we did the same prayer, and then everybody wrote it down, signed their name, put on the date, put it in a plastic bag, and then it went up inside the peace pole, which got cemented into the ground. I've got one in my yard, and I planted them in 7 cities around Colorado. The prayer was so beautiful, and it goes like this, and I think it would be something that everybody can agree on. And believe in God, not believe in God, put a title, put a name, it doesn't matter. I'm not talking about that. We're just talking about a prayer for all of us, which goes like this. May peace prevail on earth. May peace be in our homes and our communities. May all our missions be accomplished. We thank the guardian deities and guardian spirits. Peace on earth. Many blessings, and thank you for being with us tonight.
Thank you, Patty, for a
Thank you,
beautiful way to
Patty.
close this. Love you guys, and I look forward to next time we all gather together.
All
Okay,
right,
good. Don't
Take care.
go away.
all right.
Oh, no, I will end
Okay.
this, but we'll continue to talk here.
Okay.
All right.
Enough.
Okay, bye, everybody.